Oklahoma Athletic Director Joe Castiglione plans to retire. What does it mean for the Sooners, and who's next?
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase over at Game Time. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel over there on YouTube. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire at USA Today Sports. And we got a lot to cover on today's show. Greg Sankey hyping up Oklahoma, not just for what they're going to do on the field, but this year, but for what they'll do long-term as a program. The Oklahoma Sooners got a 4-star tight end commitment on Monday evening, but the biggest news of the day was the surprise announcement that first started with a report from ESPN's Pete Thamel that Joe Castiglione is planning to retire. He'll spend the next academic year with the Oklahoma Sooners as the athletic director. Then he'll step into an emeritus role where he'll just be the old guy walking around advising folks, but he's going to help this transition as Oklahoma looks for the next athletic director. He's 67, Jay, so nothing should be all that surprising when you're that age. At the same time, it did come as a bit of a shock.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere, and the press release that came out about it was a little bit confusing. So there's the announcement of the retirement component, but then there's also he's gonna be around until he hits year 30, which is technically in 3 years. And then at that point, he's going to be just an advisor and just be around, like I said, the old guy walking around the campus. And so, but with that, they're going to begin the search for his replacement now. So I'm wondering if there will be a quote unquote expediting of his retirement if they find and identify somebody and bring them on early. Now, the good thing is for the Oklahoma Sooners is there's not a shortage of people that'll be interested in taking a job with the Oklahoma Sooners. This is a premier school in this country that a job that a lot of ADs would like to get their hands on. And so the list is long. I've seen a few early lists go floating around, but John, it's going to be an interesting search to see as Oklahoma truly has refreshed everything from top to bottom.
Yeah, and I think your point there about an expedited transition, it could make sense. Like if Oklahoma falls flat on their face and has a terrible year on the gridiron, does Joe Castiglione want to have to be the one to pull the trigger and change the head coach? He might not want to be that guy. And whoever they identify might want to be the one in charge of the next hiring process, if that's something that Oklahoma has to go through. Here's hoping it's not. Here's hoping Oklahoma's in the playoff and that's not even part of the conversation. But in the real world, that might play into some of this as we go through the next 6 months. But just Joe Castiglione and his impact to Oklahoma athletics, I told my wife about it, and when it broke and I'm sitting there at the table trying to write a story while the kids are being chaos around me, and she's like, what? No, he can't retire. Because when she went to OU in 1999 to start school, like he was in year one there, or had just completed year one as the athletic director. And then they had 1999. And then in 2000, they win the national championship. So like all she's known of Oklahoma athletics is what Joe Castiglione has helped build. And that's true for a lot of people. He's been a part of that national championship, brought Bob Stoops, countless conference championships, helped bring Patty Gasso, the 8 national titles. Like this is a guy that had a huge impact at Oklahoma.
And he did a really good job of putting Oklahoma in a position to be successful. Remember, ADs aren't the ones that are out there coaching, but they are the ones out there having the discussions to help with like formulating schedules. I mean, he's the one that with the coaching staff was willing to push and negotiate with these big programs to get these really good out of conference games. Notre Dame, UCLA, Ohio State. Like you go down the list of all the programs that Oklahoma has played home and homes with since he came in the late 90s. It's pretty impressive because not only did he not allow the coaching staff to shy away from the opportunity of getting on the national spotlight, he encouraged it, and he knew that his team would put up a really good fight, at least at minimum. I mean, Ohio State game didn't go the way we wanted to in Norman, but we darn sure went there and planted the flag, and that's what you want to see out of your program. And it's good that Joe Castiglione was the type to push for stuff like that. Again, he was the one coaching on the field, but he also always made sure the coaching staff had the resources they need while also keeping them out of trouble. I know that a lot of people took kind of issue with like the compliance stuff and everything, but John, this is the one thing I got to give to him. We don't even really talk about the 90s like we used to. You know, the 90s borderline didn't even exist in the minds of most Sooner fans. They've already deleted that because of just so much success over the last 25 years, 27 years with him being at the helm. He's been able to do a great job of turning things around, making the school even more profitable, getting donors there, getting improvements to all the facilities, doing a great job of pushing with fundraising. I'll give him that. You know, there's, of course, more to be desired. We would all like some additional things, but the biggest thing is that he never got into Bob Stoops' way. He let him do what he needed to do on the football side. Like I said, he brought in Patty Gasso. He did a really good job overall as a AD, and he's been praised by a lot of people, even the opposition, when it comes to the job that he did here at Oklahoma. So now the question is, who's next?
Yeah, and there's going to be a number of candidates, and the obvious ones are guys connected to the program, guys like Zach Selman, who's now at Mississippi State, left a couple of years ago to take that job to get some athletic director experience. Kirby Hocutt, who is the athletic director at Texas Tech, spent time at Oklahoma as well. But I also wonder, with Randall Stevenson running the hiring search, and obviously Joe Castiglione is going to be a part of that, are they more likely to land on somebody who doesn't have ties to the program than they are somebody who is a Oklahoma legacy?
Yeah, that is a good question. That's the one thing I'm curious about is, do they want to think outside of the box and bring in somebody different? I mean, the hiring of Jim Nagy was probably the biggest example of Oklahoma saying, you know what, we're going to go out there and we're going to go out on a limb and see if we can win his services over the other schools. And I know we beat out another big SEC school for him, and it was the selling point of Joe Castiglione, as well as Brent Venables pointing out, you know, it's Oklahoma. There's a rich history here, and we want you to help us bring it back to prominence. And there's an opportunity to do that, and we're not going to get in your way. Something that, you know, helps a lot when it comes to that. Now, I mean, there's questions about how this latest regime has been handled with Joe in charge, but, you know, for the most part, he's done what needs to be done to make sure this program not only remains viable, but also stays out of trouble. And Oklahoma has a little bit of a pass for that. So we're going to make sure that we're walking a little bit on eggshells to make sure things don't revert back. But that's the good thing, John, is that we're so far removed from that stuff that I think now you're going to start seeing a little bit more stuff pushed to the edge, a little bit more, you know, habitual line stepping. Going to be right there at that line to see if we can push for success going forward. But no, overall, Joe Castiglione has done everything that you could ask for from an AD. It's, like I said, so many people praised him when the news came out and talked about him. So obviously he did something right. It's just going to be different now for Oklahoma. And like you said, that list of the coaches that have ties to Oklahoma is pretty long. But I think the list of people that be interested in this job just in general is probably going to be longer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be one of those jobs like the GM job was that people are going to seek out. They're going to look to have an interview or have a discussion with Joseph Harris about the athletic director job and Randall Stevenson and see if that's something that they can finagle themselves into, because it's still a preeminent blue blood program. And it's still one of the top earners in college football. So you're going to have a lot to work with. Now, what's going to be important is finding somebody that has a good grasp of the name, image, and likeness landscape where things are going with revenue sharing and how all of that's going to tie in together, because it's a new complicated world. And that's not to say that Joe Castiglione wasn't up for the task or that he couldn't handle it, the transitions and the evolution of college football, but it's going to be a very different game than what he stepped into back in 1998. So yeah, but we'll see where Oklahoma goes with this. It's not going to be a short and quick process. I imagine they do their due diligence and it takes months upon months, but we'll start hearing names of people who are interested probably sometime this fall, and then they'll start narrowing it. And then I imagine wintertime or spring is when we hear a name actually named. One name the Oklahoma Sooners added to the 2026 recruiting class, Tyler Ruxer. Let's get to know the 4-star tight end out of Indiana coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day, and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Get that extra hot dog, get that extra brew at the concession stand because you saved at Game Time. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Game Time has last-minute tickets and zone deals for big savings, like 10% off exclusive zone deals for FIFA Club World Cup matchups. And you get the seat views right in the app before you buy, so you know exactly where you'll be. You'll know what your line of sight's going to be. No concerns about obstructed views. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed over at Game Time. And thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Oklahoma Sooners received a commitment from 4-star tight end out of Indiana, Tyler Ruxer. Jay.
Big pickup for the Sooners. The 6'4", 220-pounder is a good mixed bag of what you're looking for when it comes to a pass-catching tight end. High school numbers as a junior, 43 catches, 893 yards, and 12 touchdowns. But, John, that's not the biggest part about it. He was averaging 20.7 yards a reception. Absurd for a tight end. So, when we watched the film, and we talked about this in the green room, you saw that they lined him up just about everywhere. He played the XY, he played the Z, he played a little tight end, he was offset, he played in the backfield as an H-back. He moved around a lot of different places, and you could see his 6'4", 220-pound frame being all over the place. The picture of him with Joe John Finley, he's a big dude, and Joe John is legitimately 6'6". He was right there neck and neck with them, basically, and he's going to add a nice component to it. One other piece, though, one other little known fact about him is he's fast. He played corner as well as wide receiver there in Indiana. It was at Heritage Hills. He ran a 11.14 in track. So he did it all. Won state championships. That dude's everywhere. So he's a lot faster than you would have anticipated for his size, and he does a really good job of getting to the ball at the high point.
What I saw of him as a dude that's got the speed to break away from cornerbacks, safeties, linebackers. You line him up at tight end, and he's going to give linebackers fits. He's just got that dynamic ability. He's going to be able to stretch the field vertically. He's going to be able to run the seam, which that's something that Oklahoma just hasn't had consistently since maybe Mark Andrews left. Like, Braden Willis was really good, but he wasn't doing a lot of his damage up the seam. He was playing over the middle, yes, but he wasn't threatening the middle of the field where teams that wanted to play too high safety weren't going to be threatened because Oklahoma didn't have anybody that could split the safeties and go make a play. So this is one of those guys that's got that ability. he's got to add size. He's got to add bulk. He's got to add strength. He's going to have to figure out the inline blocking situation because I didn't see a lot of that on his highlights. I did see a guy that could split out into the slot. I did see a guy that's willing to block. That's somebody who they lined him up in the backfield as a fullback at times. And he showed a willingness and an assertiveness in his blocking and was able to put guys on the ground. So he's got that going for him. It's just a little bit different ball game going from playing in space to playing right up next to the left tackle and having to block the defensive end from time to time, or combo block on a defensive end and then, flank out and go get another second level defender. So he's going to have a lot that he's going to have to learn. I don't know if he can be somebody that steps in and contributes right away, but I do think he does have the ability to contribute in the passing game early if they find some packages for him where it's like, hey, we're in 2-minute drill. Tyler Ruxer, he can help us here. Let's get him on the field. But beyond that, he's got some room. He's got some developing he's going to have to do.
No, I totally agree with you there. I think that the thing that I see different, only pushback I would have is I could see him contributing pretty early because he can play wide receiver. Like he has the speed and size to play truly in the slot as like a big slot guy, especially with the speed. Like he's one of the rare tight ends that we've seen at his size that can go out and play corner and actually make plays. Like when you watch his film, he's out there playing corner, he's backpedaling, he's going out there, and the next thing you know, he's going to the high point of the ball and getting an interception. Like you don't get that very often from a dude at 6'4", 220 pounds, especially one that even in some of the film, you got to see him do some inline blocking. It wasn't bad. But you could tell that that's something to work on. But at the same time, he's like ginormous compared to most of the competition he's going against. He's a very big dude. Like he looks physically imposing. And so you add an additional 30 pounds in which he probably can hit the weight room and do that. Or you keep him kind of smaller and you keep him as a slot type receiver, like you would have him play like an Ivan Carry-On type size. And you have him go out there and, play the slot. So I think there's a lot of different places you can do him. I think that's what helps him the most is that he does have versatility because he does have the size and it looks like the strength, but he's also quick enough and agile enough to where he's probably going to be more of a pass catcher. And he's going to add to a room that's really going to be going through a really big refresh after this season. I mean, you'll still have Caden Helms as well as K McIntyre around, but you'll have Trinae Washington, who's probably going to be your lead tight end going forward this coming season. And then you add these two in with Ryder Mix as well as Tyler Ruxer. Now you've got a couple more tight ends for Joe John Finley and Ben Arbuckle to play around with. That's going to be a lot different than what we've had over the last couple of years.
Well, they'll portal a guy. They're just going to have to,
most likely,
unless they redshirt Jaron Kanik for some reason and decide to bring him back for 2026. I only say that as a possibility because he's making the transition to tight end himself. Yep. And if they say, you know what, just work on the position this year, redshirt, and be ready to contribute significantly next year, that'll help us more.
That's fair. We've got three, so we got old tight ends, so we could do that.
Yeah. So I think there's a possibility there, but you still will probably need to portal some guy to get some veteran insurance. But I like the young room that they've got with Trinae Washington, Ryder Mix, and Tyler Ruxer. I like those three. I think you're still a couple years away from seeing them contribute significantly. Like I think Trinae Washington's got all the talent in the world, but much like with Tyler Ruxer and with Ryder Mix, he's going to have to add size. He's going to have to add some bulk and some functional strength to be able to play in line at the tight end position, which if you're going to run 11 personnel and you want your tight end to block, they're going to have to block some big dudes at defensive end in the SEC. So I still think that there's some developmental process that needs to take place, but that's okay. It's a developmental game. You've got time. There's no reason to rush these guys onto the field, but you're going to have to get something out of them. Like tight end has been one of those spots that has not really contributed in the way that we expect over the last couple of years. And so all eyes are going to be on Trinae and Tyler Ruxer and Ryder Mix and Caden Helms if they can get him healthy and on the field and contributing, and Cade McIntyre, because the time is now, man. They got to contribute, man. Tight end has been a net negative too much the last couple of years.
It really has. It's been pretty brutal. While at the same time, I mean, you get it. It's just unfortunate, just bad luck in the injury department. I mean, Braden Willis has been your last one that you've really had a lot of success with. And I mean, truth be told, Bauer Sharp would have been really good to have this year. Again, I'm sorry. I know
Yeah, I
a
mean,
lot of y'all aren't fond, but at the same time, I felt like, you have him, things would be a lot different because he could catch. You just don't need him doing everything, which,
yeah,
again, you learn quickly that, how that works. But I digress. I do like the pickup of
love the pickup. It's great.
I like the pickup of Ruxer. And I like that he's adding to this class. It's the 15th one in this class. And now we just got to continue to push forward.
Yeah. I was watching him today or whenever the commitment came down. And I was like, this dude's got juice. Like he is juicy and he's going to make some big plays and he's going to stretch and threaten some defenses, which is a lot of fun, dude. You get a tight end like that on the field that is going to make defenses think about him. That just opens up so many things for you as an offense.
Agreed.
The Oklahoma Sooners may not have had the success that they want to have on the football field in year one in the SEC, but Greg Sankey is still encouraged by what he believes Oklahoma can be. We'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. And thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the Oklahoma Sooners going into year two in the SEC, hoping to have a big bounce back from what they were in 2024, where they were 6-7 and the offense was terrible. And the only reason they won games is because Kip Lewis is amazing. But Greg Sankey is still pretty optimistic about what Oklahoma can be. He said high-level universities where leadership is very interested in both the academic positioning and athletic success. The influence is beyond just the boundaries of the state for national promise. When you look from the moment forward of long-term success, the fundamentals are there. So, Jay, he's very complimentary of what Oklahoma has to offer. And listen, I think we're optimistic too. Now they just got to go show it on the football field.
Exactly what it is. Like you're seeing some success from some of the other programs. And of course, softball does what it does best. It continues to be a problem for everybody, even being super young. But overall, Oklahoma did really good in the SEC this year. Besides football, the only place where the struggle was, besides owning the entire state of Alabama right now, having that large ownership stake really does help us with the confidence boost going into next season. But no, and he's right. I mean, he even talked about, how from those fundamentals, he pointed out the ups and downs of the other last couple of teams that joined the SEC in Texas A&M and Missouri, and how they start. Both of them did pretty well to start and kind of went down and then worked their way back up. So they got the ebbs and flows, and that it's like impossible for anybody to just always be at the top, the food chain. I mean, heck, Alabama struggled in the early 2000s. They had their moment before they had Nick Saban. And so, it is what it is. And so for Oklahoma, it's time to show up. It's time to show that you should be here. And they'll have that. And I like the fact that Sankey pointed that out. And you can tell he believes in the leadership of not only Joe Castiglione, who's now retiring, but also Brent Venables. He even said, I think the leadership at football that Brent Venables provides, the fundamentals are there. To me, that tells you that the breaks weren't there for you. You didn't get everything didn't break the way you wanted, but the foundation and the fundamentals of how you wanted to get to that point, it's there. Now you're going to get some good breaks because it goes back and forth. Take those good breaks, capitalize on it. He expects Oklahoma to be actually a really good team going forward.
And a lot of this comes from the fact that Oklahoma is a blue blood program. They have had as much success as just about anybody in college football over the course of the history of college football over the last 25 years. Okay, they got the one national title only, but a bevy of conference championships over the last 40 years, 50 years. They've got a bunch of national championships, a bunch of Heisman winners, a bunch of All-Americans, and a bunch of dudes that played at the NFL level too. So this is a program that is one of the best programs in college football. 2 6-7 seasons, that doesn't tell the whole story. The record doesn't tell the whole story about what happened in those seasons that led to those records. They got to win. They got to go prove it, though. They've got to go turn and flip the script on what everybody believes Oklahoma is right now. And man, listen, again, I feel optimistic they're going to do it. It's just a matter of the pieces coming together. Jay, you talked about the breaks. Last year, Oklahoma got no breaks. Like
Zero.
Pretty much everything that could go wrong on the offensive side of the ball went wrong. The only thing that went right for you was in the Alabama game offensively. And that was about it. And still, you needed a Kip 6 and an Eli Bowen interception that puts you right inside the 10 to be able to pull out an upset victory over Alabama. You had to get a break. I guess the one break you did get, again, it was on defense in the Ryan Williams, Eli Bowen end zone thing where they called him for a penalty that probably shouldn't have been a penalty.
Yep.
That was about it. Like that was about the only break you got. And it came in your biggest win of the year. So yeah, man, it's time for the regression to the mean happen. Oklahoma to catch all the breaks this year and just go win it all. Just go win it all. Like why settle for just contending or why settle for just the playoff? Just go contend and go win it all.
Yeah, let's just sound crazy here. Championship or bust, baby. Let's go.
Why not? It's Oklahoma, man. Like, I know it's crazy to say that. And listen, really I'm not one that's ever going to hold everybody's feet to the fire if they don't win a championship. But if you're Oklahoma, you should really be following that, modem of operation. Like, we win championships at Oklahoma. And
I get so many fans are going to be like, hey, y'all, calm down, slow down there and everything. Yeah, sure. I get it. But at the same time, like you said, why go for one? We need to be like the Oklahoma City Thunder in this one. As Sam Presti said, when we make it to the playoffs, we don't just want to just go there and say we've been there once. We want to arrive. That way you're expecting us there every single year going forward. Yeah. And I think Oklahoma has the opportunity to be able to do that. And so I do like, again, Greg Sankey, he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's looking at. And he knows he can recognize dysfunction over functional. Now, if he felt like we were dysfunctional, I don't think he would have said anything. He probably would have been like, yeah, it's just great to have Oklahoma here in the SEC.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the best way to, not get busted or get pushed to make a statement that you probably don't want to make. But I mean, it's a simple way of doing it. And that's most likely what he would have done if he actually was like thinking that, a little questionable here, but no, I think he does see it. A lot of people do see it. We're seeing all of the talking heads pointing out those things about Brent Venables. And so because of that, that's the expectation is that, Oklahoma should be able to bounce back and move forward exactly where they need to be.
Oklahoma's going to be Oklahoma. Any talk about Oklahoma becoming the new Nebraska or falling down to middle of the pack in the SEC, like, that's not realistic. That's just not.
No.
So, like, will they go win it all this year? Probably not.
Probably not. But that's okay.
But they're going to be much better than what they were last year. And they're going to remind everybody just what Oklahoma football is all about. And yes, Greg Sankey is going to talk positively about all of his programs because that's his job. His job is to protect the brands, and the brands are the programs. And so he's going to talk positively, but he's definitely not going to say something negative. But he didn't have to say what he said here.
Exactly. He could have passed on it.
He could have said anything else. But the foundational elements to be successful are there at the University of Oklahoma. Now it's just all has to come together. And if it all comes together, watch out, college football world.
Watch out. I think Oklahoma's in a position to be able to do that. I think we've talked about this. We're beating the drum every day up until SEC Media Days, and then you're going to have fall camp finally show up to where we can talk about it, but we're going to beat that drum. There's a lot of things about the fundamentals and the foundation of that's been built to be excited about. As I say very often, you can tell that this staff really likes the recruits that they brought in, and that's who they focus so much on. That's the foundation and the bedrock of this squad, and I think that that's going to lead to some success coming down the line. So keep your eyes open, guys. I think it's going to be there.
And we'll see if we can get some more SEC opinions on Oklahoma at SEC Media Days and some national opinions because there are going to be a lot of national observers there as well. and just get their candid thoughts about the Oklahoma Sooners next week in Atlanta. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner. Good job, Papa Sankey, reminding everybody who we are.